everybody. So I wanted to make a video to catch up for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So I looked at the packet for this week for those 3 days for the math portion, and I picked out the parts that I thought either we just haven't gone over in a long time with the kids and they may need some review, or some of the things that I thought might be harder. But if there's anything that I don't go over that your child struggles with, or that you feel like you're having a hard time explaining, let me know and I'll be more than happy to make a video to help you out. So that's not a problem. All right, so this is Monday's math work, and it's just been a long time since we've gone over even and odd numbers. So it asks, what are even numbers? I changed up the numbers here so that way we could understand, and then they could use that on the numbers that they give. But basically, even numbers are numbers that can be divided equally. If, for instance, if you had a number of kids, like 8 or 11, and you wanted to make two teams, and there was the same amount of kids on each team, if you're able to do that without anybody being left out, it's an even number. But if someone's left out, we call that being the odd man out. It's an odd number. So for 8, the way I think about it is just, okay, if I have 8 kids, I'm going to send one over here and I'm going to send one over there. And I'm just going to keep doing that until I run out of kids. And if I look over here on this side and over here on this side and the number of kids are the same, then it is an even number. So let's send one kid over here, one kid over here. That's 2. Not done yet. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have divided my 8 kids up, and I was able to have the same number of kids on each team, which means 8 is an even number. All right, let's come over here and try to do the same thing with 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So, as you see, I have 6 over here, but 5 over here. And for this number to be even, I would have to take this one away, but then I would only have the number 10. So that lets me know that 10 is even, but 11 is odd. And the kids have also learned this year that a good way to think about even numbers is that all even numbers are doubles facts. So the number 4 is even because it's the sum of a doubles fact. It's the sum of 2 plus 2. Yeah, it can be 3 plus 1 or 4 plus 0, but to have an even, I know that 4 is even because it's the sum of a doubles fact. Same thing with 10. Whoops, let me back that up. 10 is the sum of 5 plus 5. I can split 10 equally into 2 teams with 5 on each team, which makes 10 even. Even a number as high as 100, that is even because it is broken into 50 plus 50, which is a doubles fact. Now, all that the kids really need to know to figure out if a number, no matter how big, if it's even or odd, is you look at the ones place. So I'm going to write a really big number. Let's write 2,564. 2,564. Now, this is the ones place. Always has been, always will be. So instead of drawing 2,564 circles and sending one to one side, one to another side until I'm done, that'll take forever. Instead, you can know that by looking at the number in the ones place, you can learn if a number is even or odd. And I know just in my head that 4 is an even number because 2 plus 2 make 4, which means that even though this number is huge, since there's an even number in the ones place, the whole number is going to be even. By the time I'm done drawing this out, I will prove that it's an even number. Okay, so that's how we can tell. All right, Down here, this is just a little bit of a review of how to use the number line to solve addition and subtraction. So here it says 30 birds are in a tree. 6 more birds come. How many birds are in the tree? So earlier, a few weeks ago, I gave that process on how you're supposed to solve story problems. Hopefully, boys and girls, you've been practicing that. So the first step is to read the problem slowly and carefully. So 30 birds are in a tree. 6 more birds come. How many birds are in the tree? Now I go back and I read the sentence. I forgot a step. You do, when you're reading it, you want to take the numbers out. So that way you're not thinking about the numbers, you're thinking about the story. So you're understanding the story first, then you can go back and worry about the numbers. So we'll just pretend that we took those out and we're using the word sum instead for right now. But second step is we want to underline the question because that's what we're focusing on. That's what we want to know. How many birds are in the tree? Now, step 3 is that you go back and you make that movie in your head, boys and girls. You visualize. So you read it one sentence at a time and you take your time. So it says, I close my eyes after I read that some birds are in a tree. So right now I'm seeing a tree. I'm going to make it a big old oak tree, branches everywhere, and I see a big old group of birds there. It's a big group of bluebirds. We'll just say bluebirds. And then, once I got that, I understand that, the next sentence says, some more birds come. Okay, so I'm going to close my eyes again. If it says that some more birds come, does that mean that birds are going to fly away from the tree that were there? Or does that mean that more birds are going to show up and land on the tree? It means more birds are going to show up, which means the amount of birds that I have should get bigger or smaller. It should definitely get bigger. It should get larger. So now I can go back and I can put those numbers back in now that I understand my story. 30 birds are in a tree. 6 more birds come. How many birds are in the tree? So we started off our problem with 30 birds, which is why, remember, when you're using a number line to add, you're going to go this way, to the right. That's because your numbers get larger as they move to the right. So you can start with 30. So I could start with 30. This is going to be 30 plus 6, which most of you will be able to do in your head very easily. You can jump 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or you could have jumped 5 and then one more to make 6. But either way, you're going to get a sum of 36. 36 birds. Don't forget that label. Okay, over here, it says write the missing numbers. So this is a subtraction problem. So it gives you the whole of 12, and it gives you the part that's left over after you take some out. So what we want to do is figure out what this part is. And there's a few different ways you can do it. The most efficient way, and the way that Mr. Andrews likes to use, and the ones I've tried to get you to use, is use addition to help you subtract. So I know that 12 is my whole. And I know that after I took some out, don't know how much, I have 5 left. So maybe if I keep adding to that 5 until I get back to the 12, I can figure out what we took out. I can figure out what's missing, what the other part is that goes with 5 to make 12. So what I'm going to do is I know that if I do 5 plus 5, it's going to get me to 10, which is really close to 12. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do 5 plus 5 equals 10. But I haven't gotten back to the whole yet, 12, so I got to keep going. But I do know that if I have 10, all I need is 2 more to get to 12. And altogether, I added 7. 5 plus 2 is 7. So that lets me know that 7 plus 5 is 12, which means that 12 minus 7 must be 5. Okay, same thing here with 14 plus 8. I can start with 8. I can add 2 to make that friendly 10 number that we love so much. So that's 2. Keep that in the side of your brain. And now you just know that, well, adding to 10 is easy. I just need 4 more to make 14. So I added a 2, and then I added a 4. 2 plus 4 is 6. So if 6 plus 8 is 14, then 14 minus 6 must be 8. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, down here, we did talk about this a couple of weeks before spring break, but I don't think we got to spend as much time on it as I would have liked to. So what is an array? We see that on Monday's work. An array is when objects are organized into rows and columns. So I tried really hard to teach the kids a difference between rows and columns. There is a difference, and it does matter, because if you're asked to draw a picture based on rows and columns, it can change how it looks. So if I said to write 3 rows with 2 in each row, or sorry, if I said write 3 rows and 2 columns, you would have 1, 3 rows, because rows go horizontal, and 2 columns, which would be a total of 6. I have 3 rows. Rows go horizontal, side to side. 1, 2, 3. 2 columns. Columns go vertically. Think about the columns at the front of a fancy building. Like if you are on University Boulevard heading towards downtown in Tuscaloosa, there's that big old courthouse there. They have these huge stone columns right there. They go up and down. They're vertical. 1, 2. And so to be able to do that, you'd have to have 6 objects right there. So it would be the same thing as 2 times 3. But if I said to do 3, or if I said to do 2 rows and 3 columns, it would look like this. 1, 2, those are our 2 rows, and then those 3 columns. So 2 rows, 3 columns. Now, it's not as big of a deal right now in 2nd grade. It's just I wanted you to see that there is a difference. So an array is when objects are put into rows and columns. So look at these stars right here. They have been put into rows. How many rows? Well, think about how many lines, how many horizontal lines have these objects been put into? Well, here's 1 row, 1 line of objects, 2 rows, 2 lines of objects, and 3 rows, 3, all going this way. So there's 3 rows here. And it wants to know how many is in each row. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in that row, 5 in that row, 5 in that row. So a number sentence that could be written for this, and I actually need one more blank, is this. 5 plus 5 plus 5 equals 15. So it's important that the kids know this, because this is an introduction into multiplication. All multiplication is adding the same number over and over and over again. So this is really the same thing as 3 times 5 equals 15. So that's why this is important for the kids to understand. All multiplication is adding the same number over and over again. All right, so for Tuesday's work, I picked out this problem. It says, what's the next odd number after 15? How do you know? Remember what we talked about with even and odd numbers. Remember, even numbers will always have an even digit in the ones place. And even numbers are numbers that can be cut into 2 equal teams. You'll have the same on both sides. If someone's left out, it's not an even number. So it's asking, what is the next odd number after 15? So I want to know, what's the very next odd number that's going to have an odd man out that comes after 15? Well, let's start with the number that comes right after 15. Let's start off with 16. So I'm just going to draw it. So let's draw 16 circles and see if that's the next odd number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whoops, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So again, I really didn't even have to do all of that. I could have just looked at the ones place right here and saw the 6 and just know that, well, 6 is 3 and 3, a doubles fact. So 6 is an even number. So I didn't even have to draw all that out. I could have known just by looking at the ones place that 16 is an even number. So 16, even though it comes right after 15, is not the next odd number. So let's go to the one after that, which is 17. Let's try that out. Now, I'm going to use that same trick. Instead of drawing out 17 circles, I'm just going to look at the ones place. 7. I know that 3 and 3 make 6, which is even. And I know 4 and 4 make 8, which is even. But 7's right in between 6 and 8. So that lets me know that 7 is odd, because I would have 3, 3, and then one more left out over here somewhere. So 17 would be my next odd number. And I know that because 17 is the next odd number. I know this because 8 plus 8 equals 16. 16 is an even number. But if I try to divide 17 equally, I will have an odd man out. So that lets me know that 17 is odd. It's the next odd number after 15. Okay, down here it says, write the number that makes each number sentence true. So we want the kids to understand that as long as whatever, it doesn't matter what it is, whatever is on this side is the same as what's on this side of the equal sign, doesn't matter what you write there, as long as they're equal, it's a true sentence. It's a true number sentence. So 6 plus 4 on this side of the equal sign is 10, which means for this to be true, for that to be a true number sentence, whatever is over here has to also be 10. It can be the number 10, or it can be a bunch of numbers that I put together to make 10, or it can be numbers that I subtract to get 10. It doesn't matter. Just as long as it's 10, they're equal. So over here, we don't have 6 plus 4. We have 7 plus something. Well, I got to think, what can I add to 7 to have 10 so that way there's 10 on both sides? Because 10 and 10 are equal to each other because they're the same. I know my 10 partners, and I know that 7 plus 3 is 10. So that means that there needs to be a 3 here for this sentence to be true. 6 plus 4 does equal 7 plus 3 because 6 plus 4 is 10, 7 plus 3 is 10, both equal 10, both sides are equal, this number sentence is true. Same thing for over here. I know that 4 plus 9 is 13. I take 1 from the 4, give it to the 9 to make 10. There's 3 left from the 4, add that to the 10, you get 13. So what can I put over here to make this 13 so that way my number sentence is true? Well, I know that 5 plus 5 makes 10, which is close to 13, but I need some more to get the 13 from 10. So I need a 5, and I need 3 more. So I need a 5 and a 3, which would make 8. So now this number sentence is true. Okay, now I'm going to come down here to Wednesdays. This will be a little bit of review of the array stuff that I was talking about earlier. It says, draw rows of counters and write an addition sentence to match. Here it's asking for 3 rows, and it wants you to put 2 in each row. So when I think rows, remember that's horizontal. So I need 3 groups that are going this way. 3. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to draw a counter here, and it says there's 2 in each row. So there's my first row with 2 counters in it. Here's my second row with 2 counters in it. Here's my third row with 2 counters in it. So, how many groups are there? 1, 2, 3 groups. There's 3 rows. And how many is in every group? 2. So this picture is the same thing as 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 6, which in multiplication would be 3 times 2. 3 groups of 2 equals 6. Over here, it says 2 rows. So that means 1, 2. And how many is in each row? 3, 3. So 1, 2, 3. That's one row. 1, 2, 3. So my picture here is going to look a little different. I actually do not need this other blank right here. My number sentence would be 3 plus 3 equals 6. Or if you wanted to use multiplication, it would be the same thing as 2 groups with 3 in every group would make 6. 2 times 3. All right, there we go. This little number problem, this story problem is kind of like a multi-step problem, so I thought that I would work this out just to help with this. So, but you would use that same strategy with visualizing the help. Okay, so I know that there were some children at the park, some amount of kids. So I'm just picturing kind of a bunch of kids at a park. Some were playing in the sand, some were on the swings. So, okay, I know there was a big group of kids at the park. Some of them were over here in the sand, some of them were over here on the swings. The rest were on the grass. Okay, so there's 3 places these kids are at. The whole place is the park. You got some over here in the sand, some over here on the swings, and some over here in the grass. It wants to know how many children were on the grass. Draw a picture or write an equation to show how you can solve the problem. Well, I've kind of already visualized. I understand that altogether there's 35 kids. And there's 3 different groups of kids doing different stuff. One group of kids are over and playing in the sand. Another group's over playing on the swings, and another group's over playing on the grass. I just don't know how many are in the grass, but that's what I want to know. I can use what I know right now to help me figure out what I don't know. Since I know that there were 35 kids altogether at the park, I know that 13 of those kids were in the sand, 10 of them were on the swings. I'm thinking that if I put the kids that I know were in the sand and the kids that I know were in the swings together, that'll help me figure out how many were on the grass, how many were not playing in the sand or were not on the swings. So 13 plus 10 is 23. So that means 23 kids were not on the grass because they were in the sand or they were on the swings. And I know how many there were altogether. So maybe if I take how many kids there were altogether and take away the kids that were in the sand or in the swings, I could figure out how many were on the grass. So I can definitely do 5 minus 3. I have 5 ones. I can take 3 away from that. So that would leave me with 2 ones. I can definitely have 3 tens and take 2 tens away from that, which would leave me with 1. So that means there were 12 children on the grass. Okay, I believe that's everything that I picked out. So if there's anything else that I didn't show in the video, I'm sorry it's so long. I was just trying to squeeze in 3 days into one video. But if there's anything that I didn't show that you're confused about or having some trouble teaching to your child, let me know. I'll be more than happy to make a video for anything that you ask. So let me know.